Lacrosse has been the fastest growing collegiate sport over the last 15 years, and participation rates show no signs of slowing down. This weekend, the Premier Lacrosse League Championship is going to be airing on NBC's Peacock. And joining us right now to talk about the booming business of the sport is lacrosse superstar Paul Rabil. He's the co-founder and the chief marketing officer of the Premier Lacrosse League. And did I mention he's a superstar too? Paul, thanks for being here today. It is really great to see you. My 10-year-old son started playing lacrosse last spring. He loved it. He's taking clinics this fall. And I can't believe when I walk around downtown or anywhere else, just how many kids I see with lacrosse sticks sticking out of their bags at this point. This sport really is growing in popularity.
Yeah, it really is. Thanks for having me. We think a lot about participation as a growth mechanism for the PLL and the sport as a whole. And just last month, we actually got full membership recognition by the IOC on a path to the LA 2028 games. So it's a really good time, not just to be in sports, which we'll probably talk a little about today, but also to play the game as it's popularized, but it's also the oldest sport in North America.
So how big is the audience just in terms of viewership? Because I look at lacrosse kind of on the track that soccer was on for a long time, where it's just a more and more popular sport. Kids want to watch it, and so their families watch it too.
Yeah, we think a lot about MLS as a case study, also UFC and F1, and using new media and mediums as well as technology to tell the story of lacrosse. So there's 10 million lacrosse fans. There's 2.5 million participants in the U.S., but the bigger piece of the pie is 100 million casual sports fans in the U.S., and that's what the NBA and the NFL go after. And it's really about timing of when your season is, what your viewership acquisition models like, broadcast, streaming, and so on. And our partners at NBC Sports and NBC Universal and Peacock have done a great job helping us not just utilize the lacrosse audience, but go after new casual sports fans.
No, that's interesting. Just the timing in terms of who you're going up with in competition, whether that be the NBA, whether that be the NFL, Major League Baseball. How do you time out with lacrosse? How do you make the most of kind of going for those fans when maybe they don't have other things to watch?
Yeah, well, our pocket is the summer months. So right when the NBA, NHL ends and right before the NFL begins. So our championship weekend actually is this Sunday, championships at noon on NBC proper. So we will go up against a little bit of the NFL 1 o'clock games, but we're right at the end of our season. So we found that sweet spot in the sports calendar.
Paul, just in terms of how you go after those other fans, how you build, what have been some of the things that you've done? I know you guys do the broadcast a little bit differently with like microphones on the players and things too, which does add another dimension that you don't get from most sports.
Yeah, well, you've got to put on a beautiful product and distribute it across broadcast, cable, and streaming. So the difference in where the viewership model was 10 years ago versus today is we could do appointment watching television as a network. Now the viewer has all the power, so you have to be where they are. And then the innovative broadcast strategies and technology say we have microphones everywhere with hot mics on the field. And then we integrated sports betting last year. So our partner at DraftKings has done a great job of now including live odds, which kind of increases not only the interest of the game and bringing on those casual sports fans to bet on the game, but it keeps them more active and your retention for your viewer increases.
I think you just got Joe's attention. He may actually watch if that's the case too, if he can bet on it.
There you go.
Paul, where do things stand? I know you guys are in negotiations. You have a window with NBC Universal, not to negotiate this on air. Like what can you say now versus 3 years ago?
Well, now we have a track record of strong viewership year over year. We're up 33% from 2020, and we're up 140% from 2020 to 2019. We actually took advantage of the really treacherous times during COVID, and we were the first league to be out with a bubble model, and we're able to capitalize on sports fans looking for content to watch live on television last year. So we were able to introduce ourselves. And that year-over-year tracking is important. But the bigger thing that the networks are looking at are properties that are going to bring their audience onto their streamers. And what we've seen with Peacock and the Olympics and other platforms that are driving user acquisition through sports is that sports is live IP. And if you can get someone to tune into your platform for 55 minutes plus, which is our average viewer, then all of a sudden it's an attractive business. And it's much different than the model that existed 10, 20 years ago, where you needed to have 3.5 to 5 million concurrent viewers on broadcast television to drive a large media rights deal. So we think about media rights, sponsorship, tickets, merchandise, sports betting, and that's essentially the umbrella of companies that sit underneath us as a league.